Opossum Bud made a video going after out-of-touch creators that essentially was saying, a lot of creators are saying, don't buy these crazy prices, but then opening thousands of packs, which brought Danny Phatump into it, saying essentially he wasn't going to open any of the new Destin Rivals, even though he gives away a master set, because there's a lot of people like, does he really give it away? It's just for views? Like, God forbid anybody actually does anything good. Just do nothing good. Just do nothing, right? Brian over at Pokerev even said, don't even sell at MSRP because everyone gets mad at you. By the way, I was waiting for that. Didn't get in, but no matter Brian, the dude actually did everything I think he could have as a business. But it's so hard because I think a lot of people are not really talking about the creators which Opossum Bud talked about. Now, he was referencing, he made a follow-up video against Pokerev, kind of like mainly towards those bigger tiered creators that have a lot larger following, a lot greater access to product. And for them to like kind of give this contrasting idea of like, hey, don't open packs, but we're going to open hundreds, if not thousands of them, and then you're going to wish you had them still. I think they are still dense in the hobby, but I will say, looking at the whole dynamic of this, is we used to like that type of content, and we've outgrown it as an audience. We really have. Because before, we were just opening packs digitally. You could watch it anytime, turn on, click, right? But now you have Whatnot and all these other things that have caused a lot of issues where like we now break packs together at the same time on a live audience. So like the old guard of Leon Hart, Pokerev, all the dudes you guys remember from the COVID boom of Pokemon, that has now gone to the wayside. And I think a lot of them have really found a struggle to still find relevance in, they're still relevant, but I'm saying relevance in the new era of Pokemon. The other difference that you're going to see is that back then during COVID, that was kind of more towards vintage boom, stuff like that, where essentially like people were not hyping the new cards as much. Like it was there, but not as crazy. And so like, now I have to say, like, as an old guy, you can't see who I am, but I am an older gentleman. But to understand the new Pokemon collecting, you kind of have to get into new Pokemon. You could have just played red and blue, gold, silver, emerald, whatever, and then just been like, okay, I'm good. Yes, that's why 151 blew up, and certain sets have done better than others. But I'll say, like, with this new recent boom in just the past, couple months, I was like, oh, I watched New Horizons. The first season it came out, didn't really collect at the time. I just wanted to see what was going on in Pokemon. That was cool on the ship and all that, breaking down and stuff like that. Then we went to the new one where I was like, oh, this is cool, and I'm sitting here like, I get it why certain Pokemon are performing better or worse than others. I skipped playing Scarlet and Violet because I was like, oh, I heard it's bad. But from that, I was like, if I'm going to collect the cards, watch the show, I should probably play the game. And I played the game and I was like, whoa, I actually kind of like this. So when I look at the change of how this is happening out of touch creators, it's a lot of just the growth of the hobby and the growth of what's popular, the growth of like genuine in the dirt and in the barriers that actual people have to getting Pokemon cards, which, I'll sit here and say like Pokerev does go to card shops. He's been making more vlog style things like that, which is awesome. And that shows he's trying to relate to the common person that doesn't have distribution access or like Pokemon access, direct access, by the way. And so when you go through this, you have to say like, you can try, but there's only so much you can do. And I think we're seeing that even with the Leon Hart hate that's recently going on. I made a video about it because it was kind of out of touch, right? Like he was putting on a pedestal GameStop with fake prices that were not real from like older sealed product that was not available in any GameStop. That's also why we're seeing this continuation of the idea that Leon Hart, for example, is having to do these challenges like Deep Pocket Monster because let's be fair, Leon Hart is a dude that's been doing this for a long time. As somebody that did content for another channel for a long time, I can tell you can get burnt out. And I don't think Leon Hart is very into Pokemon right now. And when your job is Pokemon, you're not really into it, but the hype of Pokemon is up here. Something's going to pull you down. And right now, I think he's just not really stoked on Pokemon. I can say that, like, I don't think that that's the case. And so that's the vibes I'm getting off of the Leon Hart videos. And it's okay to dip out of the hobby and dive back into the hobby. But did you guys catch that? The word is hobby. I am saying hobby. Like when you make Pokemon or YouTube, both of those, which are can be hobbies, your entire livelihood, it becomes very hard to like have the pressure of having to get views and things like that because it is difficult. But I can sympathize only so much. And unfortunately, any business, right? Because that's what they're making this is not just a hobby, but a business that has to morph, has to change. And as a business, you have reputation. So this brings the Pokerevs and the Leon Harts and all these old guard people to be able to understand you either need to adapt for the common folk that are viewing your content to respect that and say, yes, you're one of us, and still continue to watch you and still evolve and still change. Or you're going to have right now where you have a lot of other creators that are coming out and doing other things to be relevant still. And, you can't just talk about the good old days, unfortunately. And we're seeing a much different era now where the modern cards are what everyone's blowing up about, but those also include a lot of Gen 9 Pokemon, a lot of other things that, like, if you don't play the games, if you don't watch the show, if you don't play the trading card game, not just open packs and collect fancy stuff, it's going to be hard to relate and kind of talk about these in a lot of context, per se. Now, I want to go on about this because that is something I think when everyone talks about hate of Leon Hart or, creators needing to get some form of like dose of reality, this context has not really been shared on the internet. It has not been something that a lot of people have really observed or annotated. And so that's why I wanted to make this video. I don't think at the end of the day, Danny Phatump not opening packs, Pokerev not opening packs, or any of those dudes, Leon Hart, I don't think that they necessarily have a physical dent on the cards of what is happening in the hobby. But I do want to say they provide a soft good or service, which is making entertainment and videos talking about Pokemon cards, where they do reflect or adjust or can manipulate the temperatures of what Pokemon can be and how popular it is. I think these creators need to understand that it's a business for them. It's a hobby. That's a fine balance. They have to adjust, adapt. And people are giving feedback directly to say, you need to be part of the hobby right now. You need to understand this. And the voice of these creators will be heard by Pokemon. If you have 1 million plus subs, Pokemon is probably going to listen to you. Danny Phatump, very well known, almost at 200K subs, I think right now, has a voice. It does travel, and people are definitely, upset that somebody that is actually, I would say, very business savvy, has great perspective, and is understanding and sympathetic to the current modern day collector is doing very well. I think he will be one of the new guards that does come up through the ranks to actually take over some of the laps of the relatability, if you would say so, to the Pokerevs, to the Leon Harts and things like that for the modern era, because he has a true grasp of, he plays the game, he collects the cards, he tries to give away, he runs a business, and even sharing his personal story of having a major illness where he's like, I could have died, right? So like, I think he has great perspective because of that. But I wanted to chime in about the Opossum Bud, Leon Hart, Pokerev situation because and Danny Phatump, because I think it's all kind of this collage of just craziness because everyone's trying to point fingers at where things can be causations of the Pokemon boom and the downfall of some of the issues in Pokemon. But I want to reiterate that it is not absolutes like someone's fault or not fault. These are percentages and contributions. Even me on this channel, I'm contributing to it by having a voice and people watching it. But I'd love to know, what do you guys think about that situation? Because it did kind of ripple through the Pokemon community.